We're on.
We're on. We're live and direct from our own houses. And today, Zec and myself, here on MZTV, will be talking about missing out. Welcome to MZTV. MZTV. I love that picture. It looks like I've got so much lipstick on.
You probably did have.
I didn't. It's just some weird. I don't know what's happened to the filter. But anyway, darlings, hello. We're back.
We're live and we're missing out.
Yeah, we are missing out. Although I'm not missing out on new hair. New hair. Because this is old hair. Henceforth, why today only I am 90s throwback Mick Scarlett.
It
So
looks
I've
like,
dyed
do you
my
remember
hair.
Keith Harris did all this? Didn't he? He had that chimpanzee as well. Didn't he have blonde hair?
I would no. See, Orville had green, and the chimpanzee was a brunette.
Oh,
So I'm afraid no.
My memory plays me up.
Yours, matey. But annoyingly, of course, even back then it used to go a canary yellow colour, and it kind of has gone that again, and I never know how to stop it.
And it's kind of being backlit from the window.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting experience. But the good thing is, I thought, why not? Because while you're stuck in, you might as well do your hair a silly colour and see if you like it. And that's all right. So there we go. Anyway, missing out. Why are we talking about this week, do you think, everybody? Well, Zec and I were meant to be going to the Disability Expo. Zec was going to go around. We've been offered to do this very program from the Expo. I was going to be working with the charity that I run, Fab, as well as hosting a lot of the discussions, joining in at the panels, having a go at things. It was going to be wonderful. But of course, my health is crud. Zec's health is crud. So he bailed first and went, no, I'm not going to make it. And then I bailed. And then neither of us went. And it made us think about missing out, didn't it?
It did. And then we found out that we weren't going to miss out. And then we missed out. We were offered, I was really excited. We were offered a Sheldon Cooper experience.
Yes.
Of the telepresence robot by the wonder of, was that lightning or is that my camera? By the wonder of technology, Mick and I were going to be able to trundle around the XL Centre with our faces on the screens and talk to people. I said, say hello if you see us. And I was really looking forward to it. I'm like, this is going to be great. And yeah, I'm surprised when I logged in, it didn't go. It
didn't
It
work.
failed. No.
Yeah, it was quite sad because the guy that was doing it was obviously, very well meaning, very well intentioned, and it was probably a bit of kit that would work if you had really good Wi-Fi.
I don't think it was their fault. Robots for Good, they're called, and I don't think it's their fault. It's the XL Centre and Disability Expo for not checking that this had the network. Yeah,
it's basically a case of, anyone that goes to the XL knows that the XL Wi-Fi is shockingly bad. And I honestly thought there'd be like a professional bandwidth that you could buy when you were doing stuff so that everyone there would have an internet connection and stuff.
Well, I thought they'd be on Ethernet and plug their own sort of Wi-Fi routers in that would throw a coverage, a mesh round. But
the thing is that to cover that amount of space would be difficult. So that's why it needs to be built in. But it isn't. The XL is shocking. It's shocking for mobile phone reception, let alone Wi-Fi. So that's why we had a technical, as it's known in the trade.
Mine ended up on 4G. I've got a little film.
Let's see it.
I won't do all of it because it's 4 minutes. Let's have a quick look at this.
I can see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Supported by this technology, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I can see you. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Here we are. Here we go. Right. Okay. I think you've got that. You've started getting the hang of the controls already, I believe. I think you go up and down. joining.
So just follow that dot on the front.
Yeah, just follow. You can just use the arrow key to go push forward and back. We've got Alan, the Paralympian, in this. Would you like to get a picture of the Paralympian or meet the Paralympian?
I was hoping just to have a wander to a few stalls, if possible, try ride especially, things like that, or are we not that free to roam? So I would say that this technology isn't selling it for me at the moment. I would have thought XL London would have had the fastest broadband. I've got 950 megabytes here, but quite clearly at XL, I don't know if it's because there's so many users there, obviously. It could be, you've got, if there's Wi-Fi there and everybody's logging onto this, using their system, it's just going to be overloaded. And I mean, it goes on. I logged back in and he explains to me, I've got you on 4G. I bless him, I don't know who Alan the Paralympian is, but it's all I was offered. Alan was sat there with his shorts on and his prosthetic legs. I don't even know what Alan did, but it was like, we're failing. Do you want to meet Alan?
To be honest, I think you had a better reception than I did.
That was all I got.
Yeah, we logged in eventually. I was on the stand, like the Fab stand. He'd taken us there. And apparently that part of the XL has even worse 4G reception. So I couldn't get it to move because
So he had to pre-tape you to where you wanted to be.
The delay was about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 seconds.
And were you getting people going past and then going back again? And
yeah, so it was really, I mean, like I said, that's not, but what it did, I think, is highlight that for many of us in the disabled community, missing out is almost so much part of what it is to be disabled.
Yeah.
But we forget, and most people who aren't disabled or that have fairly static impairments that don't impact on their health, that's the big bit, the bit that actually kind of really breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I know, when it's funny, I've had about 3 or 4 periods in my life where my health and my impairment have combined to make it so that I've taken large chunks of life off and kind of disappeared. And it's the bit that's the most difficult. Learning a new body, it's annoying. Learning new function, getting used to new equipment and medical stuff. Yeah. But knowing that life is happening outside and you're not part of it is the bit that it just always gets me down. And I mean, I've only, I suppose I'm lucky. I mean, while it's happened a few times, it has been quite short. But I mean, when you didn't just say earlier that it started in 2010 or something for you?
No, for me, I mean, I first fell ill in 1996. I was very well, out on my motorbike, rolling away, and a pericarditis. I was then very unwell for probably up to about 2002, and then I managed to regain it. I had a real good patch, not a good patch, but with pacing I could sort it. But I think since COVID or since my pain levels have been pushing up, something's flared it all back up. And like you say, it's that missing out where you sit at home. My family went out today. If you to off of Southend here, we've got the Mulberry Harbour, part of the D-Day landings, these big concrete barges, and one sunk and it sits a mile and a bit off the coast. And the RNLI did a big walk out to it today, 1,700 people. And I've walked out there as a kid, I've sailed around it, and my whole family went, grandkids the lot.
Yep. And
I'm sat at home.
Yep.
And it's not just the one event, it's the again and again and again, can you go? And it does affect your mental health. Someone said to me, we're the living dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because one of the things I think that happens when you are ill or when you are newly disabled is you have a very bad period and then you start getting better, hopefully. And when you do, your brain forgets. It forgets pain, it forgets illness, and it forgets the loneliness and the emptiness and the exclusion. So when you go back in, it's such a shock. And I think that for me, this last year has been shocking because I had forgotten, one, how quickly all your friends just go, poof,
Yep.
gone. Like, you know, people that you saw every week, sometimes, many times a week, gone.
Yeah.
And I understand they're worried about saying the wrong thing and talking about stuff they're doing when you can't do anything.
And
But
we're
it still means
unreliable.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, at the minute, both of us aren't even unreliable because we're just not going out.
It's just not happening, no.
We're reliable in our unreliability. We just won't be there. But it's so that's really weird. And just this whole thing of, and I suppose I think the thing that gets me this time is the fact that I'm old. Like when I was young, there was loads going on, but at least I had time to look forward to.
Yeah,
but
you feel a little bit more when you're younger,
yeah,
don't you? You're a little bit like, oh, this is okay. And as you get older, you start thinking, shit, I'm nearly done on time.
I don't know. I mean, when it happened to me the first time, I was 15. My spine collapsed, and I spent months in hospital, which actually was the highlight of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had a great time in hospital, and also you're surrounded by other people who are equally not having as much fun as
you're
they
still
should
socialising.
be. Yeah, you're actually having fun because you're stuck with your mates. I mean, it was in a kids' ward, so we were all under 16. So basically, we just had a right old laugh. We'd have water fights and everything, and we got on really well. The nurses were lovely. Most of the nurses were like student nurses because that's, everyone wants to be in the kids' ward. So it was great fun. And coming home, suddenly I was being looked after by my mum. So I was back to being a baby because I was like that for about the first year where I had to have everything done for me. No friends, no going out. All my mates I knew were out there. Yeah. And immediately we didn't have social media, so I couldn't find out what they were doing, which was quite nice. But then I got slowly back on the horse. And I think that happened again in 2002, 2004 to 5. And that time I lost my career. I was Mick Scarlet Superstar. Did you know I used to be on telly?
No, I didn't.
And by the time I came back out into the world of the living, everyone had forgotten who I was, and it was
all these young whippersnappers.
Yeah, I know, all these young bloody Adi Depitan types coming up and stealing my thunder, right, with his cool dreadlocks. Anyway, so I had to go and get a new job, and this time it's been really weird because the other two times, at least, doctors seem to want to do something.
Yeah.
Whereas this time, and I know this is something you face, they're like, well, we've had a go, but you'll just have to put up with it. And it's like, what?
It's just part of what happens to you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that 20, say, I'm 57. So if I live another 20 years, you can't live another 20 years like this. It would be ridiculous.
You imagine how we're going to be struggling in another 20 years.
It's bad. And I think this is the bit, that is the bit that no one talks about. The bit that we're missing out on is being considered valid for proper treatment. I mean, how much occupational therapy have you had? How much have you had someone come round and adapt your house and make sure your bathroom's right and all that?
I had once 8 years ago, someone came in because I had the old that you just put round the toilet, the bars, and where I was getting up to get on the wheelchair, and it kept tipping. So they came and they put the bars in. That is all I've seen since 1996.
See, that's what I mean, is that you are, I mean, I know how bad your house is. I know you love it because it's where you live, but it's not.
I hate it, but I love my garden.
Yeah, it's not adapted. By now, you should have been on the council waiting list way back then. And by now, you should be in a fully accessible wheelchair users flat or bungalow. Right, in where you live, it would be a bungalow with a garden, with all the stuff, with the mod cons, a shower, the lot, which would allow you to pace yourself better so you could do more because you're not hurting yourself having a bath or something.
And take the stress off. The stress of living in these sort of things adds to whether people like it or not. Our mental health contributes to our pain levels, to our health.
Yeah, it's
like, what I want to say. Quick, I said about those telepresence robots. It sounds like they were all bad, and I did say to him, "Look, unfortunately, this has fried my brain and made me feel really unwell. Wish I hadn't bothered." But there are apparently a couple of schools around here in Southend that have got them for pupils who can't get to school. They've clearly got the network in place.
Yeah.
And I think that technology is really great because that missing out, rather than being on a camera like here, I can't do anything, you could wheel out wherever. Even if you wheeled into the lunch hall and you ate your lunch at your table, you're there with your friends.
Yeah. It's funny because part of me, I have this weird relationship with the idea that technology is going to fix it.
Yeah.
Because I think that it should be that we build a more accessible society rather than build a more adaptable human. If you see what I mean, like, if your wheelchair could climb stairs, it'd be great. And it's like, yeah, but shouldn't it be better if we just had a lift? Because that's placing the expense on us. You're trying to get an attachment for your wheelchair. Please donate generously. And
we're at £1,700. We're at 1,700.
Blimey, excellent.
It slowed down, obviously.
Yeah, but it's going to, innit?
First, yeah.
But but it's kind of that idea that we'll fix you rather than fix the world. But when it comes to that, I mean, I know I had lots of time off school when I was a kid because I wasn't well, and I used to have a very lovely friend called Julie Potter. Hello, Julie, if you're still out there. Thank you so much. I used to fancy Julie so much, but I was too shy to tell her. She used to come around with all my homework. And I'd do all my homework and then I'd give it back to her the next day. She'd come around every night. She was so sweet. Such a cool kid. And but a robot would have been great.
What, instead of Julie?
Well, no, I'd quite like Julie to have come round, but then I could have said, would you like to? I could have asked her with my robot. I wouldn't have asked her because I was too shy because, the Mik I am today is not the Michael that I was when I was a schoolboy. Let's just say that. I was the shyest, quietest, most...
Same here. Yeah. I didn't have the confidence for a long while.
Which is kind of annoying because most of the kids at school that were cool then grew up to have no fun at all. We had loads of fun, as I know from I've seen your pictures when you were a young, towering monster of a man. And then when you have it taken away, it's like, I quite like that back. But
yeah,
the comments are very weird today. For many of them, they've been talking about Wi-Fi for a very long time. We started a very strange conversation about Wi-Fi access, but it is weird how that is something that we didn't used to have, and yet now, if you don't have it, that's something else you're missing out on. How many people out there that are chronically ill or disabled in such a way that they can't go out, that don't have access to good Wi-Fi? What do they do? I mean,
it's strange because it has become a necessity along with all the other things, because it is my social life. It keeps taxis here, Mick. It keeps me sane, or insane as it was yesterday. It seemed to be full of hatred and vile on Twitter yesterday. But I go on, I chat. The disability community are there. Yep. We chat, and I feel better knowing that you buggers are suffering as well. It helps, doesn't it?
Can I? I mean, this is a side, but can I ask you? Does it only slightly get on your pip when you say something's happened and then you get all these people offer you advice? I mean, it's very well meant, but it's always like, I've been doing this now for 57 years. Yeah. Right? I was born this way, baby. None of you joining the club later on. And I've probably tried everything that you suggest. Occasionally, it's like, that sounds interesting. But it is really funny. What about people whose physical issues mean they can't use social media? Well, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were chatting last time with Jeffrey, and he was saying, some people with severe ME, they can't look at a screen because that literally just fries their brain quickly. They have this light sensitivity. Yeah. And, there are many other conditions of people who just can't.
Yeah,
And
well, that's. I mean, to be honest, Facebook user, whoever you are, that's kind of what I meant. Is there's loads of people. I mean, is it 27% of the disabled community don't have access to the internet, don't use it, don't have any technology? So this whole brings us very well onto the next little bit of our subject, actually, about this new thing about railways, and they're now closing the ticket offices, which means access and support and assistance is going to be harder to get.
Yeah.
So.
And we're going to miss out again.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I was sort of in my 20s, when I started going properly clubbing a lot in London. Getting a train was a blooming nightmare, right? So we've got better and better and better and better. It's not brilliant by a million years, but now we're going back. Yeah. The idea that you're taking people off the platform, relying on technology to get stuff and request your assistance, even though legally since 2016 it's been an absolute legal requirement for the railways to offer turn up and go, or TUAG as they call it in the railway industry.
I doubt they actually realise though the issues, because I must admit that looking at the hog threads, I've been reading a lot about it. There's things that I didn't even consider. So, not only the fact that maybe you can't use a ticket machine, but also at the ticket machine, you can't get your 50% rail discount.
Didn't even know you got one. I've worked in the rail industry, right, since 2013. Yeah. And no one has ever told me that as a wheelchair user, I get a 50% discount. And then I got my rail card, but I didn't know I get more of a discount because I use a wheelchair. And it's like, this is something else we miss out on, right?
Information.
The benefits that we are meant to get.
Yeah.
But they always go on about fraud. Oh, it's always fraud, terrible. Pictures of the Minister for Disabled People dressed in a flak jacket arresting people for fraud. Right?
Me mad, that did.
£3.5 billion a year of unclaimed benefits. Benefits that people are absolutely entitled to make their lives easier, to make their lives fairer, but they don't get because they are not told about it.
No, it's not like you go there.
Kennedy, as Sarah Jane Kennedy, who I now know is Facebook user on our comments, she was saying that some people can't use the internet. No. You've moved benefits so much onto the internet, right? But loads of people can't claim. And
it should be that you go there and they say, all right, look, this is your thing. You are entitled to this, this, and this. But no, what you have to do is you have to go all Inspector Clouseau and you have to trawl through. You have to ask the community and you have to seek. And people are like, did you know you can get this? No, I didn't know I could get that.
Without being funny, like we're talking about the OT thing. Yeah. You are legally entitled to have a constant social worker and occupational therapy until you are signed off because you are no longer needing it. Yeah. Now what happens is the moment they give you anything, they sign you off. And then if you need something else, you have to reapply. I am currently on the waiting list to go onto the waiting list for an occupational therapist, right? I've been on that waiting list for a year and a bit. I haven't even talked to someone about talking to someone. Because you have to
before we went live, Mick said to me, how many times have you seen an occupational therapist since 96? And I said, about 8 years ago, someone popped round because I needed bars around the toilet. That is the only time I've seen an occupational therapist.
Yeah. And that is another thing that we miss out on, is that these things are things that would make our life easier.
Yeah.
Whether it be a piece of equipment. I mean, really, that thing you need for the front of your chair should be something you get for your health, for your well-being, because you're missing out. I mean, you've got a garden, so you do get some vitamin C. But like someone like myself I don't get nothing. So I have to take huge doses of vitamin C, or otherwise I get
vitamin D. Yeah.
Vitamin D, that's it, vitamin D.
Vitamin D,
Not C. C you just wee out, so it's a pointless vitamin.
Yeah, no, I take vitamin D as well because I am often just me and my settee. I've laid on the settee more than my wife. Not more than my wife has,
Yeah, I know what I mean. No, I mean my settee. If you look at my wife's side of the settee, it's all lovely and it's matte grey leather, and my side of the sofa is a shiny, grease-ridden pit from where I've laid on. We only had it 2 years ago, but in the time we've got it, it's been royally used.
Yeah.
But I mean, the big one, all of this like stuff. The thing that really gets you is missing out on life, on the relationships and the activities that
Just the
everyone else is
interactions
doing.
with people.
Yeah. I mean, without being funny, we get no viewers on this damn thing. The only reason we do it is so that me and Zec can have a chat for 40 minutes twice a week, twice a month.
Yeah. It's our social life. This is me and Mick going down the pub and everybody else looking on going, what are they talking about?
Yeah. In fact, next time I think I might get drunk.
I mean, every other week I go to synagogue. That's my social life. I missed it this week because my health wasn't good, because I'd phoned the doc. I couldn't get into the GP. We spoke about the GPs being inaccessible because if you've got fatigue and that, you can't take part in the daily marathon of redials. So I made an appointment online for a triage phone appointment, and that was a month ago. And I had it this week, and he said, "Can you come and see me?" Like in 20 minutes. We had our grandson who's got chicken pox, so I had to push up there even though I wasn't feeling well. So that's what did me. And then I thought, right, I'm going to have a flare up, so I'm going to go and pick the kids up from school as well and totally bugger myself up. Why not?
Do you know what? I think that's one of the things I've discovered is there is this thing of you're kind of in a position where you have to push yourself to breaking point just to not miss out all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, since about the last month, I've been going out occasionally, like going out for a meal or going out for coffee. And I'm sitting there, and about halfway through, it starts getting like unbearably uncomfortable. And Di's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, doing all this moving about.
And we hang on because we don't want to ruin it for them.
Yeah.
We have that guilt.
You're like, but also you don't want to ruin it for yourself because that's it for the week, maybe the fortnight, maybe a month. And so you just sit there and put up with it. And
Donna stopped doing things. Donna would be like, "Oh, I won't go and do that because it's unfair because you can't go." And I'm now like, "No, it's not fair that this screws both our lives up. Go and do it." It's like the whole counsellor thing. She's a counsellor. She didn't do it because of me. And I said, "Go and do it. Live your life."
Yeah. It's ironically, I think with me and Diane, because I said this to her right at the start of it, what's actually happened now is people are starting to think of Diane as almost a single woman. Like loads of people that I used to think were my friends are now really starting to piss me off because they're kind of hitting on her in a kind of way like, "Oh, come out, let's go out." And it's like, they're not talking to me now, are you? You're talking to Diane like, "Oh, yeah, Mick's dead." No, I'm not dead. I'm just at home. But and also what's happening is her social life obviously has got quite lively. And she goes to a lot of places that I wouldn't have been able to go to anyway because they're not accessible. So now, if I get well, what does that mean? Does that mean that she can't go again?
She can't go there,
or, because all of my friends have just stopped thinking about access entirely. So they're all booking, there's loads of my friends run clubs and sort of art events and stuff. And they're all just not in accessible venues. And it used to be something they considered. And it's something else, I think, that's really important that the non-disabled community doesn't understand is that if we're not there, sometimes it's because we aren't well enough, but also it's because we can't get in.
No.
There's so much that we as a community miss out on because either it's not physically accessible or like it's like loads of my friends that have got hearing impairments, they miss out on so much of what's going on because we're all talking away and I can't lip read this. Is too many people, so they just back away. And I
didn't realise I went to do some reviews of mobility scooters that I'm doing for this Lifestyle and Mobility Southend. I only did one because I came over feeling so unwell. But chatting to them, they said in Southend-on-Sea, if you're a power wheelchair user, you can no longer get a taxi.
Yeah.
You cannot get a taxi. The buses are crap. The trains you can't get a power wheelchair on, especially if they're James Dudridge, our MP, was boasting about how it was all now contactless all the way along this line. Isn't it wonderful? And you think, what the hell? They're celebrating this. What are the
Yeah,
new Conservatives going to be like?
Oh, the new Conservatives. Deutschland über alles.
Yeah. I said they had a Ouija board out the other day trying to get Oswald Mosley's spirit to come back.
Yeah, it was
One of our MPs, Anna Firth, is
without being too political. It struck me when I was watching something this morning. Was it? I can't remember what it was, but someone was talking about everyone out. I think it was Sunday brunch, and they were saying, "Oh, people have fallen out of love."
Oh, has it got that bad, Mick?
Yeah, that's it. Oh no, God, it is. Trust me. Diane's dog sitting at the minute, so she's staying away, looking after her friend Verity's Dachshunds because she loves Dachshunds, so she's looking after. That's great. And actually, kind of a Dachshund is far cuter than me, and you can go for a walk, whereas I don't. But anyway, so I'm alone on my own, just kind of getting on with it. So I've watched some awful bloody Wimbledon's ruined my TV planning. Like, I had it all sorted, got it sussed, find it and fix it, money for nothing,
repair shop.
That's all there, and that's all gone. Anyway, so I forgot what I was fucking talking about. Oh, that was it, politics. And they were saying about, kind of, people are falling out of love with politics. And whoever the guest was, that used to be part of Blair's lot of people. And he was saying that we're now run by kind of people that once upon a time wouldn't have been considered that of quality. And I thought, do you know what? That's exactly right. We're being run by the lunatic backbenchers of Margaret Thatcher's era.
Yeah.
And it's like, it comes to something when you're the mad people from Thatcher's government.
Somebody said, where else would these people be employed? Who would employ these people? Because they just wouldn't.
I mean,
and they reckon now the Tories could get something like less than 48 seats next year.
Sorry, I'm not laughing.
But unfortunately, one of those will be Liz Truss that could keep her seat.
And one of those will be Southend, because I know what a bunch of maniacs you lot are. Do you remember the eyes? You remember that? The railway bridge over the middle of Southend?
Yes.
Right, those eyes, they are Margaret Thatcher's eyes.
Oh, are they?
Yes. And I'll never forget the first time I went there and I came out of the station and went, ah! Because it was just these great big, mad, staring eyes. And it was like, I know the photograph of Margaret Thatcher that they were taken from. And so you spent your life walking around Southend being looked at by Thatcher.
Can I just say that? I mean, we talk about the Tories. We had a Tory MP here called Sir Teddy Taylor.
Yes.
He was a Conservative. The man was a gem. If there was a family in need, he would go and sit down at the DHSS with them all day.
But this is the thing, right? Is like, I mean, we here had what was his name? Frank
Bruno.
No. Not Frank Bruno. He was never an MP. No, he's a footballer. Anyway, we had a lovely MP who was like that, who was one of those, I'll fight for you. Diane is always writing letters to MPs going, la, la, and he always wrote back. And then we got Keir Starmer. And since then, he has never replied or even acknowledged that he represents Camden. Never. I get nothing from him. It's just like, I'm the leader. And that's it. And I think we won't sing.
No, don't sing that. I just remember who that is.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
But see, we're at that age, aren't we? We grew up thinking that was really cool, and then went, oh no, it's not. It's not. No. So I actually have a rule, and I can't believe I'm telling everyone this, but my hair goes a little bit like that person if I let it grow too long. And I have a moment where I go, right, I've got to cut it because it's gone leaderish, and so I have to cut it off because it just grows and just falls into that shape. Anyway, but that's the thing, and I think again back to missing out. So you see that style, bringing it back to the. One of the things that disabled people miss out on is proper representation. Our Minister of Disabled People, does he know anything about disability? No. Did any of them? No. I
was asked, would I consider being a councillor because they need disability representation? And I looked into it.
Yeah.
And I can see why there aren't more people. So for a start, all the councillors park underground because it's safer for them. When they're coming out late at night, out onto that main thing, it's safer, it's all security. There's no lift down there. Lift doesn't go down to the lower ground. it steps up, it stairs up. So that's one. And then you've got all these things of, could I manage to sit through all these meetings? And no, you can't do it virtually. I can't take my
right.
presence robot
See, right. This is illegal because legally a council not only has a legal right under the Equality Act to provide reasonable adjustments, so therefore if you get voted in, they have to make it accessible for you.
Yeah.
But also under their public sector equality duty, they have even greater legal responsibility. So if your local council is denying you access to the opportunity of being a councillor because of poor access, they are in fact breaking the law. And then comes the bit we're missing out on again, in that our law is shit. Because if you want to say to Southend Council, you're letting me down legally, how do you get that sorted? You have to take them to court. Not ring the police.
I have to say, though, I've looked into it, and after watching, because Donna goes to meetings and I've watched them, I don't think I could deal with that level of bullshit and the meetings that go on for hours. I saw the T-shirt. I survived another meeting that could have been an email. Yes, she loves it. She does. She loves it, and she's very good at it, and she replies. But no, I'm in enough pain as it is. I don't need the pain.
I actually even joined a political party for this very reason, so I could stand to be a councillor in Camden. Because, sorry, I'm in London, and it's another one. In Camden, everyone seems to think that they can take their exhaust pipe off and drive up and down like maniacs. So this is the joy of living here. Of course, you do in Southend. You've got all the guys with the boom, 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 and lights. And what I love is, like, at least in London, they're driving around in Ferraris and Porsches, whereas, of course, every other else in the country, they're driving around in Novas,
Vauxhall Corsas and stuff.
It's like
we've got a BMW that sits out here that I can't believe it doesn't get pulled up 100 times a day. The wheels kick out like that. It's hand painted and stick.
Do you know what? One of the things that really bugs me, when I was young, you got pulled over for having a cherry bomber on your motorbike. All my mates had them. They always getting stopped. They took them off in the end. It was too much trouble. In London, they're all driving up and down on these great big pods that make the room shake, the lights swing. Yeah. Nothing. No one does anything.
I used to put
not like it was in the old days.
I used to put an egg cup full of Mum's vegetable cooking oil in my petrol tank on my motorbike because it smelled like Castrol R racing fuel.
That's something else I missed out on, motorbikes. I bought a trike and I had it for about a month and I couldn't get it to work. I didn't know anything about it. So I sold it, and I sold it to a bloke that had just become paralysed. And then about 3.5, 4 years later, I went to a bike rally and I met him, and he had turned my piece of scrap into this absolutely gorgeous trike and sidecar thing. And I was like, you don't want to sell it back to us, do you? And he went, no. So, but I've always wanted, it's why Sophie Morgan with their great big spider, I love it.
I had a motorbike at 13.
When I'm well, watch it.
I had a motorbike at 13. I lived in the country off, and I had a car at 14. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, about the election thing, I like you, I've spoke at council meetings trying to give evidence as to why things need to be made accessible.
Yeah.
And you just speak, and it's just like we once went to a planning meeting about a local development, and I spoke on why it should have been accessible and why the development should have been given permission because it was really accessible. And it comes to time for vote. Okay, all those in favour, a few hands go up. All those against. And at which point, an old woman who had been asleep for the whole bloody meeting was elbowed by one of her other council members, and she kind of went, put her hand up against. She had no idea what she was voting against. She just knew she had to vote against it because that's when she got poked. And it was like, well, if this is local politics, no wonder we're all so screwed.
Well, I watched a planning meeting. I was quite surprised. It was for down at Old Lee here. There's the railway bridge, and there's the old cockle sheds where the cockle boats come in. One's now a restaurant, and they were having some changes made to it. And we're going to put in disability. Look, there's a lovely space here. And Donna said, is there wheelchair access? And they show the plans. Look, a wheelchair user can get through in there. And I said to her when she came home, in that plan, all the chairs are tucked nicely into the tables. There's nobody waiting. When people get in there and the chairs come out on the tables and there's waiters around. And so she spoke to someone and he said, yeah, but that's down to the restaurant. We can't say to them, no, because that's down to their interior design. It's like, I give you planning permission for your house, but I can't tell you what to do with the interior. And yet it's bullshit because there's not enough.
That's not true, in that there has to be a specific amount of space, like for everyone. It's 1 meter 20. So all walkways have to be 1 meter 20. Right. I've actually got a ruler that I lay on my lap. And when I'm really annoyed, when I used to go out, I'd lay a ruler on my lap that's a meter wide and then wheel around. And if I couldn't get through anywhere, I went, this isn't wide enough. I'm just stand there shouting until stuff got moved. Yeah. Right. But no, it should be 1 meter 20. But this is it. Everyone argues it's someone else's responsibility. It doesn't matter because we're the ones that miss out. I had an experience in Brighton. I've probably said about it before, where we were walking along the seafront and we saw a restaurant and it had a ramp one side and stairs the other. So we go up the ramp, the door's locked. So Di goes around the steps and goes, oh, can we come in? Oh, no, we don't open that door because we only want one door open because it gets too busy otherwise. And then we don't get any wheelchairs come in. Well, Di says, well, we want to come in. Can you open it? So they open it begrudgingly. I pile in, having a cup of coffee. Suddenly I look around. It looks like there's a day out from the special school. Every single chair has got a wheelchair at it, right? There's old ladies on scooters. There's kids in wheelchair pushed in. Yeah. It's an invasion of the disabled.
They'd been missing out on customers.
And they'd all not been able to get in because of the ramp.
Yeah.
It was so busy with wheelchairs, I had to fight my way to the toilet. That's how it was like. And then I had to get out. And that's the point. They always go, oh, don't anyone come here. And it's like, no, because we can't get in. And again, that's why it shouldn't be allowed to be, oh, well, it's very expensive. So, do you know when the law came in? 1995. So therefore, if you'd have saved £5 every week until today, which wouldn't be that much to ask, not only would you be able to adapt your building, you'd be able to build a blooming skyscraper.
Yeah. Well, me and Mick, we went out for a meal with our other halves to a very nice Italian restaurant. It was great, disabled toilet was fabulous. But there was a step like that to get in. And so, because the pair of us we sort of smashed up it. And he was like, no, I'd have brought the ramp out for you. And it's like...
And that's not being racist. That's exactly how he spoke. It's like The Simpsons. Another stereotype.
He was brilliant. But
it was.
We shouldn't have to be screaming through doors saying, I need to get in. Can you come and help me?
No. Well, it's nearly time to go. So I think, why don't we give a few tips on how we cope with missing out before we go? What do you do, Zec, to stay sane?
In the summer, it is my garden. I will make myself unwell to get out into the garden. Yeah. And it is social media. In the winter, I will be honest, my mental health dips.
Yeah.
But it's the people, it's the community online, you lot out there chatting to you on social media, even if it's silly shit, talking about nothing, that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? I've said that. What are my tips?
PG.
Oh, God. I don't PG. I was trying to think, what is that? PG? What, as opposed to 15 or R?
I'm really bad at fatigue management. I acknowledge that even though 97 I was diagnosed with ME, I still haven't got the hang of it. And I'm bad.
This is all new because I don't really get it. I mean, I suppose something I have discovered is if you take morphine and alcohol, it's really good for pain. Why is it that my pain management advice is always counterindicated by all medical professionals? But that's a new one. I've decided when I go. Katie asked me quite a few minutes ago, "What do you do when you're out and you get painful?" The answer is have a pint, and that seems to keep me pain-free for about an hour, and then I go home and then I'm drunk and in pain rather than sober and in pain, which is far more pleasurable, I find.
I haven't drunk alcohol for so many years.
Well, I haven't until recently. Now I've got a fridge full of it.
How many people who are at home unwell do rely on alcohol because it gets them through the day? It numbs it all a little bit.
Yeah. But I suppose my advice, I mean, I'm really, something I haven't talked about was work, but I'm really lucky my work has given me a little while off to really focus on my health And what I'm going to do is set up my music on my computer and do some music, because that was what got me through the first time, was doing music. Just totally saved my life. And finding something you love that you can do. I know a lot of people do like crafting.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea.
I play Forge of Empires, one of these silly little games where you build a town and that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I'm thinking of having a go at gaming, because I found I play a lot of solitaire at the minute. It's really sad.
This isn't like gaming. This is like you buy a house and you collect the coins and you build. I'll send you an invite, Mick. You can come onto my town. I'll help you build. It's that. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I log on and I collect all my. And I only meant to do it. I thought I'll have a quick look, and I think it's been 4 years.
The worst bit is I've spent so much time on my mobile phone that my battery's going knackered. So I'm going to have to change my battery or get a new phone. But I suppose the thing is, I mean, I would say for some people, for people like myself, I'm hoping that this will come to an end one day. And then what
it will do one day.
Yeah, one day. But I have absolutely promised myself that if I do ever get well enough to start going out again, I'm going to really heavily campaign about the fact that there are too many people left behind, that there are too many people left at home. But also, don't let the doctors say no. I have now officially pissed my surgeon off so much, he has given me an official warning for contacting him directly. So I'm now ringing his secretary whenever I want to give him any information. But that was what I would say, because I know from our conversations that you've been left, and I think that's really bad. And I am not letting them leave me. They'd like to, but they won't.
Yeah. I gave in the end because it affected my mental health. I fought my orthopedic consultant, so hard to get rid of this leg. That, I did. It really hit my mental health. So
we were talking about this before we came on air, weren't we? That you'd be better off without it. You know, it really is a case of, even if you ended up with phantom pains, which is something they keep going, you might still have the pain, and it's like, but it would still make
the pain.
I'm with the pain, but it's also not letting me do stuff. Whereas, having a leg I click on would at least allow me to start getting back to health. It
don't even bother me that, even if I kept using my wheelchair, but just didn't have the issues that it brings. But we were saying with doctors, missing out, they assume. I put today, 11 years ago, it came up on my Facebook memories. I was in A&E because I couldn't breathe. I was struggling. And they're like, it's your ME. And no, 2 days later, the GP calls me in and I'd been prescribed an overdose.
Fentanyl overdose.
Yeah.
What, you mean the thing they tell you to watch out for when they change your fentanyl patches? Yeah.
No. Basically, I'd been on buprenorphine, 52 micrograms, and he switched me to fentanyl, 50 micrograms, but it's twice as powerful, and he didn't take that into consideration.
For God's sake, how much are you on? Jeez.
At the moment, I'm not on fentanyl, so I maxed out on buprenorphine, and now I've got a 25 and a 12 patch on a fentanyl.
Christ on a
and I take pregabalin, Oromorph.
Whoa! No, see, this is, before we go, this is something else. This is something else that I think the doctors don't talk about. Is all of that together is going to mess you up.
Yeah,
it's going to mess you up. Yeah, right. And so you need, and I think there's lots of people like this, a proper intervention where someone says, right, let's look at what you're taking and let's plan over the next 3 years to see if we can cut it, change it. I'm not into this, all painkillers are bad. Obviously not. I snuff on them. But that is huge.
I think I could improve. Huge. If I could have access to swimming 3 times a week, I think I could improve it.
Yes. Well, we're back to physio, OT and all that. If you were on a physio, if you were seeing a physio and they said, right, go and do hydrotherapy 3 days a week, right? Not swimming, because that's too quick.
I got 6 sessions of hydrotherapy 12 years ago.
Yeah, well, to be honest, this is why we need disabled politicians, because we need someone to be fighting for this. This is absolutely and totally why disabled people need better representation.
Yeah,
because things like this, it's not going to cost the NHS that much, right? But it will save them in the long run, because you actually end up gaining fitness and then you gain activity levels, and that means you can manage your pain better, and it becomes, you know, I'm not, like I said, I don't believe in all this, you know, if you did exercise, you wouldn't need your morphine, but I do believe that, like I said, I mean, like, what was it that someone just said, oh, I'm on the same as Zec, and it's like, that is way
and I've brought myself down. I've come way down myself.
That's it. That's
we are going to have to wrap up because, as I
we are.
My wife has got a counsellors meeting at 7.
So we've waffled on, right, folks. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We'd really like some guests, so contact us if you want to come on. And I also think at some point we should hand it back to the ladies at one point for an episode. But we'll talk about that another time, mate. So have a lovely week. It's going to be a bit rainy apparently, so we won't mind being stuck in this week. From me and my new hair, have a lovely week, folks.
We will see you next time. Bye.
Yes. Bye.